evening. We'd like to call the May 12th regular Planning Commission meeting to order. And I'm going to call upon myself for the Pledge of Allegiance. And place your right hand in your heart and remember our fallen soldier in Charles Keating, a Navy SEAL who died, protecting this flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Public comments? None. And then we're going to follow with a presentation item from our code enforcement. Daryl.
Good.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. This is the first quarter activity summary for 2016. And during the first quarter, the code enforcement added 188 new cases to the 229 cases carried over from the third quarter. We closed 116 cases during the same period, and we began the fourth quarter of 2015 with an active caseload of 301 cases. And I'm prepared to take any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Just for my benefit, how many code enforcement officers do we have?
Well, we have 2 in the field, including myself, and 1 tech, Stephanie Karg.
Okay, and most of the I don't know if you complaints or whatever that you receive, are they from various sources? Are they observations from the code enforcement officers, or are they called in from citizens, or generally?
Can be. They come from citizens just calling us, getting our number off the internet, through the Ask Lake Forest modem, and inspectors going in the field and just seeing it.
Okay,
occurring.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
As you know, several months ago I took a ride-along, and I was just curious, public nuisance, what kind of violations are those?
Oh, those are going to be cases that involve, for the most part, they're going to be residences, and they're going to be things like trash stored in public view, maybe trash containers stored out longer than they're supposed to be, an inoperable vehicle, painting required on the house, graffiti, those are things, again, most of those are associated with residences, private residences, and less for business.
And then there are items that are easy to solve?
Generally, yes.
Generally? All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have the same question on signage. What type of things do you find in signage that are violations?
For the most part, we're talking banners, illegal portable signs, businesses, maybe they're tucked away, and they put those little portable snipe signs in the ground. And you'll see those along the streets. Generally, they try to do them along the major boulevards, along Bake and El Toro and Lake Forest. Let's see. Trying to think of anything. Oh, and window signage. They tend to load up their business, their windows with just way too much signage, which code doesn't allow for. Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Hill? Okay. We're going to move right along, but before we do that, I'd like to just make note that Nikki Wetzel, our planning manager, is going to be our supervising staff tonight in lieu of Gail's absence. So thank you, Nikki, for slipping in. And then we're going to move on to Public Works, to Angel Fortis, who continues to spell our family name wrong, but we love him in spite of that.
Well, good evening, Chairman Fuentes and members of the Planning Commission.
Fuertes.
The Public Works Department quarterly update is part of your meeting package. And is there any questions on any item in that package? If not, I would like to update the commission on the development activity that is happening throughout the city.
I think we had a question. I saw a finger.
Maybe I'll let you go ahead and do your report first, then I'll see if I need to ask the question or not.
Okay, great. Over at Baker Ranch, with approximately 2,400 homes being planned, Phase 1, consisting of 7 tracks, 3 tracks have been completed. 3 tracks are building their last phase of homes, and 1 track is over 50% complete. Phase 2, which is located within the Loop Road and consisting of 5 tracks, 1 track is more than 50% complete, and 3 have just started their model homes. And the 5th track, there's no activity. On Phase 3 area, which is located north of Alton Parkway, only 1 of the 7 tracks have started construction with their model homes, and they also started the foundations of their Phase 1 of their production homes. The pedestrian bridge across Alton Parkway is completed. As far as the parks, the Oaks Tennis Park and the Borrego Trail is completed, and the Central Linear Park, which goes right through the middle of the ranch, is nearing completion. Over at Portola Center, the northwest track, the model homes are well over 50% complete, and they are also starting their Phase 1 production homes, which consists of about 12 homes. Their foundations have been, some of them have been poured, some foundation, the forms have been placed. On the south area, the mass grading is ongoing, and they're approximately 30 to 40% complete there. Over at Parkside Development, which is across from the sports park, the mass grading has started, and they're approximately 75% complete in the grading activity. Over at Encanto, which is at the corner of Commerce Center Drive and Alton Parkway, grading just began last week. This concludes my update on the development, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
My favorite perennial question about Saddleback Ranch Road is all the improvements now are complete on that one?
Yes, they are, and we should be going for the notice of completion within the next 2 city council meetings.
Have we had any, have we done any validation to see if the changes we made there are actually working, or are there any other complications? Though there still seem to be some people unhappy about it, but I'm just trying to figure out, are the changes they made this time, are they actually working?
The study has been conducted as far as the speed study is concerned. I don't know the results of that yet.
Can you bring that back to us when you get it?
I sure can.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for my cousin? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to item number 3. And I'll look for unless somebody wants to pull something.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. Motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, you probably want to pull.
Well, then I'll approve it. Second it, I suppose.
Hey, do you want to just approve it? Okay, with that, we will vote. Motion carries with 4 votes and 1 abstention. All right, so item number 4. We'll open up this public hearing.
Thank you, Chair Fuentes, members of the commission. This item is a tentative tract map and site development permit for the development and subdivision of 78 single-family units and 6-unit clusters in the Parkside development, and Jennifer Manser has a report.
Chair and Commissioners, this project is a tentative tract map and a site development permit to construct the Lexington at Parkside development. As you may recall, the Parkside residential community is an approximately 30-acre site located at the northwest corner of Portola and Rancho, directly across from the city sports park. This is the third and last site development permit for the neighborhoods at the Parkside community. The Lexington Neighborhood is located at the east side of the community, and the application proposes 9 lettered lots for common area landscaping, private streets, and a detention basin, and 78 lots for single-family residences arranged in 6-unit clusters. All the residences will have 2-car garages and a 2-car driveway. The driveways for the front 2 residences are accessed directly from the private street, and the 4 other residences are accessed from a shared driveway. In addition to the garage and driveway parking, the development has 3 private streets that can accommodate 33 on-street parking spaces. Overall, the project meets the city's parking requirements with a surplus of 10 spaces. There are 4 different architectural styles proposed for each floor plan in the neighborhood, and there are 5 different color schemes for each architectural style. Landscaping, including trees, shrubs, vines, and ground cover, is proposed in the front yards of each home, along each shared driveway, and in the common area landscape lots. All landscaping will be maintained by a homeowners association. The development will have 5 different floor plans that range in square footage from about 2,500 square feet to 3,600 square feet, with 4 bedrooms. 2 of the floor plans are proposing a 3rd story. The applicant is requesting an alternative development standard to increase the maximum height requirement from 35 feet to 36.5 feet, which is 1.5 feet, for these floor plans to accommodate the 3rd story. The additional height will accommodate the standard ceiling heights for each floor and still provide the decorative S-style roofing tile. The proposed plotting of these floor plans with the 3 stories will provide variation in the heights of the residences and create a varied street scene, because they're only on 2 of the 5 floor plans. The proposed architecture of the 3-story floor plans is well articulated and incorporate architectural elements at different heights to soften the massing of the building and to ensure the residences are consistent with the residential character of the neighborhood. Staff has included the required findings for this alternative development standard in the resolution. The project also includes a request for a modification to fence height requirements. The original tentative tract map approved by the City Council included a dedication of a small portion of the property for the city's expansion of Portola Parkway. The proposed expansion will add a new sidewalk and a new dedicated right turn lane on Portola Parkway. The applicant is proposing a 3.5-foot tall retaining wall, with a 5.5-foot tall property line wall in the rear yard of Lot 6, which is adjacent to Portola Parkway. This will accommodate the city's widening of Portola Parkway. The wall will be 9 feet tall as viewed from Portola Parkway and 6 feet tall as viewed from Lot 6. Staff is supportive of this modification because the location of the wall will not impact visibility on Portola Parkway and will facilitate the widening of Portola Parkway to improve traffic flow and pedestrian access. In addition, the wall will be separated from the new Portola sidewalk by a row of shrubs, and vines will be splayed on the wall. Staff has also included the required findings for the modification to the wall height in the resolution. Overall, the project with the additional findings will be in compliance with the regulations in the City Zoning Code and the Baker Ranch Plan Community. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt 2 separate resolutions to approve the tentative tract map and the site development permit for this project. The applicant is in the audience tonight, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay. Questions for staff?
Just to confirm, the difference in height between the 3-story and the 2-story is 1.5 feet.
No. I
thought that's what I heard you say.
They're asking for 1.5 feet over the maximum height limit. So the maximum height limit for the zoning district is 35 feet, and they're asking for 36.5 feet. I can check and see how tall the 2 stories are.
Well, I just don't want to have this monstrosity next to the small ones, have it out of character, but if it's not that much of a difference, I think that...
Yeah, the 2 stories are about 28 feet tall.
And the 3-story is again?
36.5 is the tallest one.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions for Jennifer?
had one question. I think I read somewhere in the documentation about there was going to be a restriction on the owners association about inspecting garages every 6 months for things other than cars.
Yes, so actually the original tentative track map had that condition, and I recently read the CCNRs, and it's a comment from the city. So we will ensure that that's in the CCNRs per the condition of approval from the original map.
Okay. I just want to be sure that was in there.
Do you know how many out of the whole track 3-story houses there will be? I know maybe the developer might have a better concept of that. I don't know.
Maybe we could go ask those questions when he comes up, as opposed to not being able to hear
I didn't
him.
know if she might have known that off the top of her head.
Jennifer, do you want to?
So there are 13 of the 78. Is that right? 4 and 5, right? Yeah, 13 of the 78 would be the 3-story. However, there is provisions in this to allow them to mix that up a little bit, as long as they meet certain criteria, that they don't have the same floor plans and architectural styles next to each other. So if we wanted to limit them to that, we would have to change one of the conditions of approval, because that lets them kind of mix them around as long as they meet certain principles that are in the code, just to create variety of different architectural styles.
Do we know how many of those are fronting on the private streets?
Yes. So 7 of them. The Plan 5s are facing the private street, and so there's 7 that would be facing the private street. The Plan 4s are actually facing the shared driveway, so 6 of them would be facing the shared driveway.
One other. Do you know if, in the city of Lake Forest, do we have any 3-story houses, or is this the first, or do you know offhand?
So in the new developments, I can tell you, we have not had any 3 stories approved. We have, Encanto has a 3rd-story option that was approved, but they weren't plotted. It would be an option for the residents. But none of the Baker Ranch or Portola that I know of have included a 3rd story. Kind of practically anywhere in the city, if someone is under that 35-foot height limit, they could have added a 3rd story at some point.
Right.
Is the property itself, when you drive by, would those 3 stories, that 3rd story, be obtusely visible, or is it kind of set down the development itself?
Well, I don't believe you'd see them from like the arterial streets from Portola and Rancho, but I imagine if you were on the private streets, you would see a difference in the variation.
So
but again,
if you're in the complex, if you go beyond the gates, then you would see it. But if you're going to the sport park, you wouldn't know that there are 3-story units across the street.
no.
So it would. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Yep, there is.
Yes. I want to clarify that. They're entitled to a 35-foot height limit. Okay, if they were to build a 3-story with a flat roof, it wouldn't be a problem with a height limit.
Correct.
But they want to maintain the roof design consistent with the rest of the homes, and in order to do that, they need 1.5 foot more.
Correct.
All right.
I'm not any more button pushers. So I think we're going to go out to resident comments. Nick Norvillis?
And I will try and keep it short for you. So it's been a pleasure working with Jennifer and Angel. Obviously, this is our 3rd time through. I'll just take the questions about the 3rd story because I'm sure that's what we're going to be talking about the most. So our idea is basically over the past 3 or 4 years, market research has shown in a lot of other areas, since our lot spaces are smaller on coastal areas, the ability to go up and get more outdoor living space has become a premium that we're looking to get into a little bit more. We do it up north in our Northern California division, up near San Francisco, and it's worked out well there. Additionally, there's a community called Elwood at Beacon Park that did a very similar thing, and their houses that had the three-floor deck sold 46% faster. That community sold 46% faster than any other community there. So that community itself did use the flat roofs For us, we are looking to make sure that we can use the S-tile roofs because it looks superior architecturally, and it's going to be a better fit for Lake Forest as a community as a whole. One thing to mention that Jennifer kind of said, you won't be able to see it from the outside perimeter of the job, that rear unit in the six-pack faces all of Portola and all of Rancho. So you would never see a third story in the back. We don't offer it in the very back. It's just for the front two units, if that makes sense.
So when you refer to outdoor space, what we're referring to is patio or balconies or whatever?
Yeah, there's actually, so there's living space upstairs, about 600 square feet, and then there's about a 300 square foot area that's actually open to the outside. It's a cover, it would be a covered deck, if you will. So we have basically like an interior window wall that opens and makes that whole space one area. It's going to be it should be a really, really cool.
So I guess instead of a yard with grass and all that stuff, you've got the whatever, balcony or whatever that is.
They still have a little bit of a yard.
Right.
We do the California rooms downstairs, but this gives even more outdoor living space.
Okay.
Any other questions while we have our applicant at the podium? Well, you might be relieved for a while, but you never know.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Do you have any more for us, Peggy? Okay. Well, then I think we're going to bring it back up here. Does anybody have a comment, concern they'd like to talk about at this time?
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing and approve.
I'm
You got a
a
question?
little premature on a motion here, I think. Not to interrupt you, but
Okay, you can do it.
yeah, thank you. I think that the addition of the 3 stories is good, and for the stated reasons. I just have a problem going over the 35 feet. I'd like to see us talk about the possibility, instead of having 10-foot high ceilings on the main floor and 9-foot high ceilings on the secondary floors, maybe we can distribute that, roughly 16 and a half inches over 3 floors and get that to come back down to that 35 and not have that variation.
My comment, Jerry, is when the building's built and you look at it, you would know that there's a 1.5-foot difference.
I recognize that, but what we get into is we start making variations, and the next thing we know, we've got another development that comes along and wants a variation for that, and then we're, okay, what do we have to do here? You know, 1.5 foot is not a big amount of space. I realize that. It's more of a principle than it is an actuality, and thinking, okay, we can distribute this over the 3 floors easy and not have a discussion about having a variance in our code.
Well, I'm supportive of the 1.5 foot. I think it lends a lot to the architecture, particularly if you look at Plan 4 and Plan 5. I was born in a 3-story house, and it wasn't until I was in school that I realized not everybody lived in a 3-story house. I think it adds a great deal to the project, adds a lot of flexibility, allows them to have additional square footage, which gives you a broader range in the selling price. And I think they're very attractive, and I think they're well done, and I urge you to support that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously, I was concerned about the 3-story thing, but when I look at it, it does mix in well with everything. I think if we flatten the roof or whatever, I'm not sure that would go with it. Or
Well, I'm not looking at flattening the roof.
Yeah.
All I'm looking at is lowering the ceiling heights, which will lower the building by that 16 and a half inches, as opposed to making a variation here. And I get it. A 10-foot ceiling, that's nice. A 9-foot ceiling, that's nice. But when you look at it 5.5 inches, who's going to measure a 10-foot ceiling? Who's going to measure a 9-foot ceiling?
Well, maybe we can ask the applicant that question. My question would be, when you're out there selling homes, are you finding that buyers like those high ceilings? I know I love mine, and I only got it in one room.
Yeah, absolutely. The 10-foot first floor is consistent throughout the community, and it's consistent with all our competitors in the area, especially Irvine, Lake Forest. You won't see a Toll Brothers home anywhere in the country that doesn't have 10-foot first floor height.
And those are not typically 3 three-story homes, though.
So in some areas there are. I'm from back east, so I built a lot of houses in Pennsylvania as well, and we do have options out there for the same thing. We also have city living departments where we do more so apartment style. Obviously, the zoning's a little bit different for that, but there are definitely, three-story products out there. Another thing to kind of mention about this too is who neighbors our property. We have the sports park across the street. We back up to 241. We have the sheriff's department on one side, and we have Saddleback across the other side. So there's no impact of view to anyone. We don't really have any residential neighbors at all.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting there is any impact. I don't have a problem with the architecture at all. I have more of a problem with the request for a variance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The consistency for the floor height is extremely important for us because when we go out to comp communities, we of homes, and ceiling height is very high up there, along with bedrooms, bathrooms, number of bathrooms. So it is extremely important to maintain kind of that luxury product that we're going for.
No, I think a 9-foot ceiling is a luxury product.
They're joist-wise 9.5. Well, lumber-wise, nominal lumber-wise, it would be pretty much impossible to achieve a 9.5.
The labor cost to cut things then to that specification.
You got it.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
Yeah, and even dropping it to 9 foot, say they were all 3 9-foot, we still wouldn't get under the 35 feet.
No, you wouldn't. You'd have to make more of an adjustment. You'd have to go into 9, 8, and 8 to make that more reasonable.
And we did modify the pitches of the roofs as much as we could to where it still made sense and where it still looked architecturally pleasing. So, I think the Italianate on the Plan 5 is probably the one that's the highest, and we couldn't sacrifice any more on that because of the size of the tower element. It still needs to look right from the street.
Yeah. So, well, I'm sure you'll build them and somebody will buy them.
Absolutely. I hope so.
And I'm listening to your concern about the variance. I just think that this one variance means that we're going to go rogue. I think that because it is its own individual community behind its own gate, it's a little lower, that the offering the 3 stories to potential buyers is a plus for new big families moving into our community. So I just don't see us going and building 5-story over the variance because of this.
I'm not.
18 inches is to me it's acceptable. So, but I do really respect that you are concerned about going outside, but hopefully this board and other boards that the city council will certainly not go rogue.
Well, yeah, and I don't know that we're going to have any more infill developments that are going to come along and ask for that, but the potential does lie that could happen. I don't know where we build anything anymore in the city. We've got it covered, I think, pretty well now. But any future applications that come in, just, if they got it, then somebody else is going to ask for it. So that's just all.
And we're here to say yes or no, right?
And we just need to be aware of that.
I think our city attorney has a comment.
Thank you, Chair Fuentes and Planning Commissioners. It's a small note, but I just wanted to clear it up that technically what the applicant is asking for is an alternative development standard rather than a variance. A variance is a whole different type of entitlement with certain findings that have to be made. For example, a property has to be in odd shape, or there's certain hardships that with for a variance to be approved. And so this is a different, it's called an alternative development standard, which is allowed under the plan community text and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make that little clarification.
Thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow there. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for our applicant? Because he's back. I knew he would be.
I had one question.
One more.
I'm just curious, and this is just more a matter of my curiosity. Why did you decide to build these homes so large?
So large, as in just this tract? So this is
Is
actually...
this larger than the other tracts you built?
This is actually, it starts out smaller, and that third floor option pushes it to give more room.
That's true, yes, because
Yeah.
Toll Brothers does build them a little bit bigger, but
Yeah.
most of your competitors aren't building them that large.
Well, it depends on where you look and who you consider comp for us, but the first 3, our first 3 plans in here are the smallest in the community. So these are starting at 914, And then once you get to that third floor option, you're closer to the upper 9s. So it's kind of our market segue in the beginning, and then if they like that setup and they want the outdoor living upstairs and they have the ability to do it, they can do it.
Well, it's amazing how you can get all those large houses in such a small space.
There's plenty of open space still, just enough.
Thank you very much. All right, Tom,
Can I go back and make my motion?
turn to your left. Go for it.
He's waving his hands over there. Make a motion, we close the public hearing and approve staff's recommendation with the provision that the Owners Association has the restriction on garages.
I'll second that motion.
All right, with no further discussion, we will vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to item number 5.
Thank you. This is a site development permit for the development of a private recreational facility and landscaping for the Parkside community, and a minor sign program for 3 community project identification signs at Parkside. And Jennifer Manser, again, has a report for us.
Hello again. This item tonight is a site development permit for the recreation center at the same Parkside community, which is going to be called The Cove, and also a planned sign program for the community's permanent signage. The recreation center includes about an approximately 5,000 square foot recreation building, which was designed to be compatible with the residential architecture of the surrounding neighborhoods. The center also includes an enclosed swimming pool and spa area, which will be accessible by an electronic key given to all the residents in the community and can be reserved and rented by individual homeowners. The facility will also include a non-gated event lawn area with synthetic turf and an 868 square foot covered barbecue area, which are proposed to be used for neighborhood events. There are 9 proposed parking stalls in front of the recreation building, and the center includes bicycle racks for bicycle parking. The recreation center is in compliance with the applicable city zoning regulations and the regulations in the Baker Ranch Plan community. This site development permit also includes the proposed main gate into the community. The main entry gate will be 7 foot tall, stone wall with metal gates for vehicle access and for pedestrian access. A call box will be located on a stone veneer pilaster in the median to allow guests to call residents to open the gate. There's a break in the median between the call box location and the gate to allow vehicles to turn around if they're lost or someone's not home. The landscaping for the main entrance will include numerous 36-inch box trees lining the street and a mix of shrubs and ground cover. This project also includes the minor plan sign program for 3 community project signs for the community. 2 of the signs are 18-inch wrought iron channel letters, which will be located on walls at the main entrance on the northwest corner of Central Parkway and Rancho Parkway, and at the corner of Rancho Parkway and Portola Parkway. The 3rd sign is a 4-foot tall monument sign located at the recreation facility, which will have a stone veneer with a bronze sign panel that says The Cove Clubhouse. All 3 signs meet the city zoning code requirements, and the design and size of the signs are compatible with the residential community. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt 2 resolutions, one for the site development permit and one for the minor plan sign program. The applicant is in the audience tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jennifer. All right, we'll bring it up here. Any questions for staff? Well, you got off easy. All right, so let's go to resident comments. Jason Sertillman?
Thank you, Jennifer, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jason Sertillman. I'm the Assistant Project Manager for this project, and Jennifer did a great job explaining everything. Just to add a few notes to that, we'll be running it very similar to how the Grove at Baker Ranch is run, where we can rent out some spaces to the residents to throw private functions. The hours of operation will be very similar, if not the same, as the Grove. And we're very happy with the design of the rec center, and the architecture, and we think it's going to be a very successful amenity for the project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Do we have any questions?
The 3 signs, will they be illuminated at night?
Yes, they will.
What type of lighting?
I believe it will be LED lighting, up lighting.
Up lighting, okay, so it's not going to scatter everywhere.
No, very soft lighting.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for our applicant tonight? You may comment, yes, of course. Well, we're going to bring it back up here. If you have a question for the not for the applicant, I'll let him go sit down. He looks tired. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll bring it back up here then. Commissioner Almeida.
Yes, when this came before us, I looked at that recreational site, and I thought that was pretty tight, pretty difficult site, and I think the solution that you guys came up with is impressive, and it's a very difficult site. I think with the design you have, it'll work quite well. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments up here?
I have one. I was very impressed with the one at the Grove that was done in Baker Ranch. I was very pleased to see that this one was very much along the same line. I think that was a great choice on your part.
Thank you, Tom. All right. I could take a motion at this time.
I'll move we accept staff's recommendation and close the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, if no further discussion, we'll vote. Motion carries 5-0, which takes us to item number 6.
Thank you. Item number 6 is a request for an attended donation center and to accommodate the donations at Salvation Army. And Amy Stonich, our contract senior planner, has a presentation.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. This is a request for use permit 12-15-4862 to establish the attended donation center for an existing Salvation Army and to reconstruct an existing loading dock at 23820 Mercury Road. The project site is within the Rockfield Place Commercial Shopping Center at the corner of Rockfield Boulevard and Mercury Road. The donation center and retail family store has been operating at this location since 1997. Donations are currently accepted at the rear of the building, and the applicant is now proposing to reconstruct the existing loading dock on the side of the building to accept donations. The business and donation center will operate at the same hours as they currently operate, and an attendant would be on hand to help accept donations at the new dock as they currently practice. The location of the dock is below street level and would be designed slightly smaller to accommodate the Salvation Army delivery truck. Based on staff review, the use is compatible with surrounding commercial uses, and the reconstruction of the loading dock is not anticipated to create negative impacts on the surrounding neighborhoods. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution to approve the use permit for Salvation Army to operate an attended donation center with loading dock. With that, I am available to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Amy, is this your first time? This is, or have you done this before? Maybe a long time ago?
Through the chair, yes. I was an associate planner, actually an assistant planner and associate planner with the City of Lake Forest 8 years ago, 2008. But I spent 7 years, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
All righty. So with that, I think Mark has a... Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the welcomed back Amy? Wow, that was easy. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Frank Scott?
Good evening. I think Amy did a great job what we have planned for our family store there in Lake Forest, and I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
So where the loading dock is now, you drive there, it's going to be moved to the other side of the building? Is that what I heard her say, or is it going to be in? It's kind of in the back right now. Is it going to be on the side?
Yes, sir. It's in the back now. There's an existing dock as you look at the family store on the left side, which is currently not utilized in any way. We're just simply proposing that our loading trailer get placed on that dock permanently and then get traded out as it fills up. And all of the donation receiving will happen at the back of the dock. The construction profile is in accordance with maintaining the easement on the back of the store as a fire lane, and so it's going to be cut back significantly and the profile modified in such a way that when donors park their vehicle to offload donations, it won't impede traffic flow at all.
Okay, so now you go, you come into the, I don't know what direction, the right side, and you drive to the back, and then you kind of have to turn around and come back the other way. So now you'll be able to kind of go all the way around, or come in on the loading dock, the new loading dock side, as opposed to having to go around the whole complex.
Right. That's exactly how we envision it, making it much more convenient for the donors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. About time.
Yeah, really. We agree with that.
When goods are donated, do they go directly into your store right there, or do they go to a warehouse?
They all go to our warehouse up in Anaheim, where they're processed and evaluated as store-appropriate product. We have a vast complex up in Anaheim that receives all the product that is donated at our certified donation centers, such as what we have in Lake Forest, and then the route trucks that we have that respond to online requests for donation pickup, as well as phoned-in donation store 800 number. We pick up roughly 300 tickets per day at various residences and businesses. All that product goes to Anaheim, where it's sorted, it's cleaned, it's evaluated. If it's electronic items, for instance, it's tested to make sure it's functional. Then it's priced and then shipped to all of our stores. We operate 9 family stores throughout Orange County, including the Lake Forest store, which, after the remodel, is now our highest volume store.
Thank you. Mark?
Just out of curiosity, so if once the stuff's evaluated, let's say it's for resale, you sell it in the various locations, what if it doesn't meet the standard? Do you have a process to where you donate it to some, or the organization, or what? Just out of curiosity.
Salvation Army is very green, and we're very innovative and respectful of the donations that are given to us. If it doesn't go to the stores, we operate a daily auction at our facility in Anaheim that generates in excess of $1 million a year in proceeds for us, and that product is too good to throw away, could be recycled, but it has functionality left in it, but not perhaps for our stores, excessive product. And it's sold at a daily auction. Most of that product ends up south of the border, and then what doesn't go in the auction then is recycled. We generate a couple $1 million a year in recycling revenue with rag garments that go overseas to Malaysia. We recycle metal, wood, pulp, paper, plastics. And then the last option, of course, is to the landfill. And given the scope of product that we get, our landfill expenses are about $20,000 per month. But that's based on an awful lot of volume of stuff that comes to us. So, there are some donors that use the Salvation Army in lieu of the dump, and we recognize that. It's part of our business model, but we're very green.
Great.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Scott. Or do we have any other residents?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll bring it back up here. Any comments from commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation, close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Hearing no more comments, we will vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Yes, thank you, Amy. I think we're going to hear from Amy again.
I just want to say I like the improvements that are being made to those properties in that area. It's a good thing.
I think All right, Nikki, item 7.
Thank you. Item 7 is a planned program to amend the existing planned sign program at the Lake Forest Gateway Center, including some freeway-oriented signs. And again, Amy has a report for us.
Good evening again, Chair and members of the Commission. This application is a request for amendment to a plan sign program for the Lake Forest Gateway Shopping Center. The original plan sign program was approved in April of 2014 in conjunction with a major remodel and expansion of the center. The applicant has requested changes to include the following. They would like to add parking disclaimers on the light poles, add parking directional projecting blade signs to direct traffic, add parking and arrow directional wall signs to direct traffic, and relocate one of the tenant projecting signs from Building 4 to Building 5, and allow stacked copy on Building 2 tower to accommodate 2 tenant signs. The architectural design of the signs are similar or the same as other signs in the center, and the location of the signs, including the projecting sign located on the freeway entrance on Building 5, will serve to provide tenant identification for tenants without creating a cluttered appearance. New directional signs will provide information to customers to assist with parking in the center. And with that, staff has reviewed the proposal, and based on this overall design, compatibility, and the existing shopping center and these enhancements to parking and directional signs, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving Plan Sign Program 3164888 to amend the existing Plan Sign Program for the Lake Forest Gateway Shopping Center. With that, I'm available to answer any questions, and the applicant is available to provide a brief video presentation for the project proposal.
I'm going to suggest maybe we do the video before we ask staff a questions, if you don't mind. Patrick Cox?
Good evening. My name is Patrick Cox. Thank you for allowing us to speak, Chairman Fuentes and fellow commissioners. Our architect did this rendering. This is in relationship to we had approved under the original master sign program. We had tenant blade sign 2 behind Building 4 to capture the traffic heading northbound on the on-ramp. Building 4 is changing, and we're no longer building that if we can successfully entitle this new land use component. With that new land use component, it would no longer allow for that 1 or 2. So we had entered into arrangements with our new tenants, placing them on the tenant line, and it was part of the negotiation to secure the tenants to locate at the property. And so we had decided that it's best to see if we could not relocate this sign. And so this imagery represents that, this depiction. I think staff initially thought that maybe they were too close. This imagery reflects that, well, because of the bend, it speaks for itself. That's on Lake Forest. Yeah, so that's Lake
Heading toward the freeway.
Lake Forest Rockfield, the main intersection.
Okay.
And that's our main pylon, and that's the main pylon sign. And this is what is Building 5.
Okay, so maybe you could just hang right there, and we're going to ask questions of staff if there are any, and then we'll go on to residents' comments.
Freeze that right there.
So
That sign's going to stay. That sign stays, right?
Through the chair, that's correct. That is the main pylon sign. It stands alone, whereas the tenant blade signs are actually attached to the building.
Okay, and this rendering does not actually reflect the new tenant that will be going in there, so that's going to be relocated? Is that what we're...
Under the original master sign program, we had 2 tenant blade signs behind Building 4. Okay. One of the tenant blade signs behind Building 5, and this is what this reflects. Building 4 land use, the building in itself, appears that it's going to be changing to another land use component that would not allow for either tenant blade sign to be constructed.
Right.
And so we've relocated it in the rear of Building 5.
Yeah, so it's further into the curve.
Yes.
The on-ramp then.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So does anybody else have questions for Amy at this time? And do we have any other speakers, Peggy? Okay, so maybe, I'm sorry,
I'm Patrick Cox.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
would you like to give us any more presentation other than the video?
Well, there's a number of items in this, we call it master sign program, that are being addressed and amended and revised, and we're here to answer any of your questions with respect to that. This is a fairly normal procedure for Cynthia and I, who is one of our preferred team members and vendors on projects similar to Lake Forest Gateway. We find that we have to amend the master sign program as we open up the center and determine what's working, what needs to improve, where do we need to do, what do we need to do for signage, directional signage, parking, traffic, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a fairly common thing for us, and we've addressed a number of the issues that have come up since we are getting near completion of the project and the redevelopment.
I think Mark has a question for you.
So just so I get my reference, the beginning of the video, we were going on Lake Forest, I guess that would be westbound, past Ridge Route, or I'm sorry, Rockfield.
Yeah, Rockfield.
And the entrance...
Stop right there. That's the main intersection, Lake Forest, Rockfield.
And we're on Lake Forest.
Right, and that's our plaza.
Right now, there's not a driveway? Because just past that is the entrance to the freeway.
Yeah, there's no curb cuts on this westbound face of the property.
So the or what's going to happen is there's going to be an entrance.
No.
Okay, it appears to me that it's an entrance, but that would be the freeway entrance.
That's the on-ramp.
Okay,
that's
good. I could see that being a problem, so I got you.
Okay,
So that where it looks like it's turning, that's going onto the freeway, not into the place.
Okay, I have a question for you. I don't want to guess at, so I need you to fill in the blanks here. Are you letting us know that part of this for the interior directional signage is because tenants have given you feedback that says that people coming to their location are having trouble finding them, or what is the reason now to come back and be adding additional? And I don't have an objection to it. I'm just trying to understand why.
Well, we put first off, part of it's our ability to, some of the signage is on the new light standards, and it's our ability to tow. This property for years and years and years had an issue with park and rides, and it still does. So we have to put up our CEC codes up there, and it allows us to take the actions necessary. So that's one part of it. Another part of it, which we did very successfully in a property at Brea Plaza, was to identify areas for at least new consumers coming to the center that we have parking in the rear of the project. And so as you come through the main throat of our project, in the master sign program, which is not displayed here, we're showing parking with an arrow. And as you come through back behind Buffalo Wild Wings, you'll have another parking that's cantilevered out tastefully that also allows for the consumer to realize, hey, there's a lot of parking in the rear of this project, or behind buildings 1, 2, and 3. So those are the, from a parking standpoint, those are the items that we've included.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And it's always been a part of the discussion with this center in particular because of the amount of parking that is behind the center, not in the middle of it. And, you know, except for the, you know, the employees being more or less forced to park back there, so you leave the main center open for, you know, patrons. So I'm cool with this. I like it. I think it's going to be a good thing for everybody.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, at this point, the only entrance to this complex is off of Rockfield, basically across from the Subaru dealer or whatever, just a little up from that.
We have three curb cuts. We have 3 curb cuts on Rockfield. But 3 of them.
Okay.
And those are our 3 ingress, egress, each one of them.
Okay, because that's always an issue that I see that, you know, coming from Lake Forest, people turning into the complex, they're backed up, and, you know, we try to negotiate or mediate that center divider thing. It's kind of
we're very aware of the amount of activity that is coming to the property to test it, to test all the new businesses. We think that that's going to continue. We are working with Public Works, Nikki brought this to our attention, and traffic, where we've just made an adjustment on the phasing and timing of the new traffic signal so that the cycle lasts longer, so that the cars can enter into the project 3-4 seconds longer on a cycle, at least between 11 and 2. That's really the issue right now that we have, is what I call the lunch crush. So that's what we're trying to set up programs to address at least that period right now.
Because that turn pocket is pretty small.
You know, and
it's a two-way left turn pocket, but yet
that's
you
another
can't use
thing.
that for that.
I'm working with Matt and Doug, where do we want to extend that turn pocket? And it's a kind of a work in progress. As you've seen, we put in the cones to stop the left turn so that we don't have tickets being given out to the customer of ours. Right. But it's a work in progress. It really is. As the property operates, then we make adjustments to make sure that there's safety and that constant improvements are being made.
I just want to compliment you on that, because I know 2 of the big tenants there that are really driving that traffic are Panera and Starbucks, and they're driving the vehicular traffic like crazy.
Don't forget Pepinos.
Well, Pepinos is always going to be Pepinos, and I'll go to 2 of those 3 anytime, and I won't name the 2. But I'm just saying that you go over there and almost early in the morning, and and 2 of those are driving traffic early. With both of them having drive-through situations. And Panera's actually, I mean, they're out promoting. They're on, social media. Hey, come in and get breakfast. Text your order in, and we'll have it waiting for you when you get there. So, they're really trying to drive the business, and great for the city because we need it. But I appreciate, I saw the coning off of to try to be proactive before we get somebody that gets, ticketed, or we get somebody that gets smashed into.
I think that's my optics on the operation side is to be proactive and not to be reactionary. Sometimes you have to be reactionary, but I have engaged up to 3 consultants, really strong vendors, assisting me with a long-term program for the project. One of the long-term programs is the land use change that we'll be bringing to your attention here in maybe a few months, which will be a real great dynamic for the community, the property, and parking.
I have a comment.
Okay.
The site has always been a challenge over the years, and I think the signage you're evolving is very important, because when you look at the site plan, like 50% of the parking more or less is behind the buildings, and that's not immediately obvious to customers. So that means there's a certain amount of education that has to go through that central parking lot where people understand that they can drive behind those buildings.
one of the things that I'm kind of kicking myself in, I don't know if it would have been in the budget, but we talked about putting sensors in so you knew what areas were open up for parking, but it's really not that big of a project to be able to afford that. But come next week, we're having two parking lot monitors to assist with locating traffic during the peak lunch hours, and that's going to be full-time positions Monday through Friday, and that's just a proactive thing that I want to see take place so that cars know where to go, where we can drive into open spaces and make it more of a fluid operation. So we just committed to that program. I think it starts Monday. And not a lot of shopping centers will do that, but we want to make sure that it operates as efficiently as possible. Tenants are doing very well. Their sales are strong. I'm pleased to know that we finally got the project off the ground and near completion.
So I just have a question. If by chance the new idea that you have doesn't go through, would you be opposed to us putting a conditional of approval on this particular item that the sign program would go back to the original so that you don't have to come back to us?
We always dual track, right? So.
Well, I'm a woman.
Right. We're dual tracking. That's very smart. That would be very good.
Okay.
As of today, the user released monies to us, so it's looking very positive.
But there's always that chance, right?
There's
You
always
have to go back to come back to us.
That's a very good move. So we dual track that, and that's consistent with what I would. That's a good game plan.
Okay. All right. So we have another speaker, or
Cynthia is the designer of the master sign program, and that's Superior Signs. So,
does anybody have any questions for the designer of the signs? Well, I think maybe we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to bring it back up here for discussion because I think we're done with Amy too. All right. Sorry, Amy. Well, you knew what I meant.
I don't have a lot of discussion, but again, just compliments. I see things that are being proactively addressed here, which is something that is somewhat unusual for applicants when we have these kind of projects. I'm pleased, and then the information that was just provided to us that they're going to put starting, I guess, next week, someone to help be directing traffic, because that was one of the major concerns that especially we had with this center, because so much of the parking being behind. And for the thing just languished. Joe's and Peppino's was the best thing in the whole place. Forget Buffalo Wild Wings. I'll go to Peppino's anytime. But I like what I hear. I like what I'm seeing over there.
Yeah, I would agree, but like I said, the only thing I was concerned about is the entrance, and especially around lunchtime and all that. And I was on the traffic committee and made some suggestions that they kind of open up that two-way left turn pocket, but that's a problem because it's with the car dealership. You got issues with that. But anyway, I'm glad to see, or at least they're working on mediating that situation, because like I said, you got traffic backed up into the number one lane, and that causes a problem. So which is a good thing, meaning people are patronizing the center, but I'm glad to see we're trying to get that mediated. So.
Tom, your light's on.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I would agree. I think the things you're doing in the center are very commendable, because the traffic and the parking is a huge issue over there. I still hear complaints from some of the tenants about the parking when it gets really busy, and I think the efforts that you're taking to try and mediate that are very useful. I think that'll be very helpful, especially if your next land use comes into play there. I like what I see with the signs. I think that will help a lot. So I think you're doing the right things, and you've made that center much better than it has been for a long time, for which I commend you.
Would anybody like to close the public hearing at this time? I'm sorry, did you have something?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and that we adopt the staff recommendations on this project.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a concern across the,
You had mentioned an additional condition of approval that would allow them to revert to the previous. Is that something you'd like to include in the motion?
did you want to amend your motion to include that condition of approval that would allow them to revert back to the original sign program should their new tenant not come aboard?
Yes.
And could we have a second on?
I'll amend my second.
Thank you for the reminder on that, Gail. All right, so we have a motion and a second, and let's vote. Okay, motion carried, 0. Thank you very much. And we will now go on to director's comments.
I made it just in time to deliver this comment, just reminding the commission that we'll be having a special meeting, our second meeting in the month of May, and that will be May 26th.
Thank you.
No comment.
Okay, from our city attorney. And now, let's see, we'll start with Jerry. You ready?
I am always ready. Amy, welcome back. It's great to see you again. Great job. Yeah, and I'm dressed in El Toro baseball blue for a specific reason, as I've already shared with some of you. The El Toro varsity baseball team won their league, and they ran away with it. They won their last 12 games in a row, and they will be going to CIF next week. We'll know on Saturday who their first opponent is. So they have potentially 4 CIF games, and El Toro varsity baseball is ranked number 2 in the county, and number 3 in the state, and number 5 in the nation.
Ooh.
And my grandson's their starting catcher.
Go Chargers.
And I have no further.
Welcome to you, Amy. We're glad to have you with us, and I enjoyed your presentations tonight. Thank you very much, and to Jennifer also. I think it was a good night.
I want to thank staff. Well done. The projects are very polished. The information is very clear. It's very easy for us to understand, analyze it, make a decision. So thank you.
Okay, with that, I think we will adjourn the meeting to the Special Planning Commission meeting on May 26, 2016. Thank you.